Hello everyone. In this tutorial video, we are going to discuss Workday reporting. Before we start the video, let's know about Upptalk. Upptalk is a live, interactive platform for software training, furnishing robust personalities, who could take on universal business platforms. So, let's know about Workday reporting briefly. Workday reporting passes the range of financial reporting, real-time, user-defined questions provide the understanding wherever and whenever you need it. With all the data in the Workday reporting, reports can be reduced in graphical or tabular form for download and display. The topics we will cover in this video are: Composite Income Statement, View Custom Report, Income Statement Row Combined Data, Dynamic Data, Column Group, View Custom Group. To know more about the latest and trending technologies, watch other videos on the Upptalk channel. Please do like, share, and subscribe to the channel to know more about new technologies. This video will be covered by Preeti. Now, let's not wait further and get started.
So today we paused at showing how to configure rows in Workday, and there was something which was still pending. So I'm going to go ahead and configure it for you. Just overview before I go ahead and a recap of what we did yesterday. So let me open that particular. Yep, so here we are, SS income statement demo. See, yesterday we spoke about the sub reports, how matrix report is not dependent on data sources, but rather it uses sub reports for the build. The second thing we spoke about was the importance of control fields in composite reports, like how all other reports work through data sources. Matrix report works on your, what do you call as control fields. And in order to ensure that our sub reports are coming in our composite reports, we have to ensure that the control field is being used in our sub reports as the column grouping or row grouping. That's very important. The functionalities that control field has in composite report is, first, to bring in sub reports that brings in our data, to filter a composite report, a row or column based on a particular field, or to do a repeating column group. These are the three features, or these are the three functionalities that control field has to offer. So if you have to filter the report on location hierarchy, you have to ensure that location hierarchy is added as a control field in your composite report, and thus it is also added as a grouping in your sub report. So that's how we build these control fields, and we determine what control field is needed one. Then we went into the tenant, we defined the control field, and we also defined our columns. So what we did, we were comparing the actuals to our budget value for our income statement. So I brought in two sub reports because both these sub reports had a different data source. So I brought in both these two sub reports, and I started configuring them as data columns, one for the actuals and one for the budget. After I did that, I went ahead and I configured a row to bring in the revenue, because income statement is what? It has to calculate your income, which is revenue minus cost. So I configured one row for the revenue column, in which what I did, I filtered the ledger accounts by few of the ledger accounts which add up to my revenue income. So that I've done. Now today what I'm going to do is I'm going to configure the rest of the rows. I'm going to configure the columns to show you how can you use calculations in composite reports as well as in the rows and columns. Then I'm going to configure a prompt set to show how the different prompts coming from different sub reports can be combined into one prompt set. And then I'm going to do a repeating column group. So this is the agenda for today's call. Okay, so let me first go and complete the row configuration. So since it's an income statement, which means I want to show the income of my particular company for whichever I'm running this report for. And income in Workday is always revenue minus cost. So I have brought in all the revenue ledger, cost of sales ledger account, which is of course some select few ledger accounts that needs to be filtered for to in order to do the same. So let me just refresh this. Okay, I see the same issue again. So there are certain ledger accounts like travel expenses and purchase discounts, which are adding on to my cost of sales. So yeah, now I'm going to define my another column to bring in the cost of sales. Like I said, you can use rows for various purposes. You can combine data. Basically, you can add 2 rows, 3 rows, or a range of rows. That can be done. You can create arithmetic calculations. You can do a dynamic data. Basically, you can bring a sub report and use one of the summarization fields over here. So that's that's like how we have configured our columns. That way, you can configure the row as well. And then you can filter your rows to look at only specific column, specific data. So I'm going to filter my row for only to look at only specific ledger accounts which add on to be the cost of sales. So I'm going to name this row as cost of sales. The row labor override is also cost of sales. And I'm going to filter on only those ledger accounts which add up to my cost of sales. So the ledger accounts here are called 5100 business travel expenses. I'm going to select all of them. And then there is one more called as 5900 purchase discount. Okay, so this is how I do it. Now in Workday, cost of sales is never shown as a negative value, so I don't have to worry about reversing the sign. If you remember from yesterday, I had to
Yeah.
reverse the sign for the revenue field because it's stored as negative value in Workday. So I don't have to worry about doing that. Let me just run this report and show you how it looks like now. So the period, let me first select the company. That way the period is gonna come in a much better format. Sorry. Plan structure depends on which company you have selected. This value is vary for different kinds of, and based on the plan structure, a period is also gonna show up. So I'm gonna select the current period, which is May. So if you will look, the revenue here is 2160 and the cost of sales is $1,500. Okay. Now
Yeah.
I want to achieve something called income. So I want to find the difference between the revenue and the cost of sales, which will be my gross profit. So let me configure this as a row as well. So let me go and edit this report again. Since my gross profit is revenue minus a cost of sales, I'm going to do this as a calculation in Workday.
Yeah.
So my third row will be of type calculation. And I'm going to call it as gross profit. Sorry. I'm going to do a sum range. The reason I'm not doing difference is because revenue is a negative value. Remember, revenue is a negative value. So even if I do a sum range, it's automatically going to deduct itself. Okay, had it be both been positive, I would have selected difference. You can divide, multiply, percentage, increase. We'll deal with these two as well. Sum is basically you can only add two rows at a once, but sum ranges you can add multiple rows at once. All you have to define here is the range. So I want everything which comes between row 1 and row 2 to be added up. Now if I insert another row later somewhere and I want that also to be included in my gross profit, I don't have to come and edit this calculation, because I have told Workday that the starting row should be revenue and the ending row should be cost of sales. So if I incorporate a middle row here, Workday is going to automatically take that into consideration. So that's what sum range does. Now, since revenue here is negative, the cost of the gross profit is also going to come up as negative. But I know that it's not going to be negative because my revenue is stored in Workday as negative, but in reality it's a positive figure. So I'm going to change the reverse sign here as well. I'm going to reverse the sign for gross profit as well. Okay. And if you remember, gross profit was showing in these bold values. So I'm going to style of the gross profit to be shown up as bold value. So let me just pick up something called as grand total. Should be here. Yeah, grand total. This is how I'm going to show my gross profit to be as a grand total style, so that all these bold values come up to be. Now I don't want to run it again because I want to first show you how to do calculations on column as well. So if you remember, in the columns we have two or more columns, right? We have a dollar variance and we have a percentage variance. Variance is nothing but the difference between the actual and the budget. That's how we calculate the variance. So I'm going to show you how to do the variance, the difference. First I'm going to show it as an amount to you, and the second one I'm going to show as a percentage to you. Okay, and if you see, there is also an empty column over here, so I'll show you how to insert that, and then I will create these two columns. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm going to make my C4 as an empty column because I want it to appear as a blank. So I'm just going to say empty. I don't want anything to be added here. Let me just click here and leave it as an empty column. I'll just reduce the size of this empty column so that it doesn't take much space for me. Yeah. And then here comes my another, which is the amount variance. Now I'm doing an arithmetic calculation here. I'm not bringing in any report summarization, nor am I filtering the data. So I'm just going to go with the calculation option. I'm going to call it as dollar variance. See, now since I'm subtracting actuals from the budget, I'm not going to do a sum range. Rather, I'm going to do a difference. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a difference, and I'm going, the column A should be actuals for me. So I'm going to select actuals, and from the actuals, the budget should be subtracted. So I'm going to select my column B to be budget. I want to reverse the sign for the revenue category, because if I'll not do that, it will come up as negative. So I don't want that to happen. And that's the reason I created a row category called revenue, so that if I have to reverse the sign ever, I can simply leverage this revenue category. Okay.
Okay.
So that's how I do it. This is my dollar variance.
We'll
Yeah,
use that in
so
the
it
video.
asked me for the row category only. Now let me show it to you again. Okay. Oh, sorry.
We already
So
did it
for
when
this
we.
particular row, if I would have not done that, the variance would have shown as negative. And for this particular row, it would have shown as positive, because the actuals for this particular, the actual revenue for this particular is negative, and the budget is also negative. Same. The actuals for this is positive and this is, so two negatives subtracted will give me negative value, right? But this is not the reality. My negatives are, it's the way it's stored in Workday. So I want it to come up as positive. That's why I told Workday that for the revenue category, I want it to come up as positive. That's why I told Workday that for the revenue row category, I agree, make it as, let me get again. So getting it? If
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
look at these rows, okay, each the value is now being popped up against the rows. I'm getting the actual revenue, I'm getting the budgeted revenue. I'm getting the actual cost of sales, I'm getting the actual, I'm getting the actual cost of sales, I'm getting the budgeted cost of sales. Now my difference is between what? The actual and the budget. The difference will first come up as actual and the budget revenue and the actual and the budget cost of sales, correct? But since
Yeah.
revenue in Workday is a negative value, I want the sign to be reversed even during calculations. Getting it?
Yeah.
That's why I said that reverse the sign for this calculation. Why
Yeah.
I did this, what I did.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is very annoying. Okay. So let me now create a percentage variance for you. Yeah, so let me create percentage variance for you. This variance I'm finding out as a percentage. So I'm going to create one more calculation. Now in Workday, you can find percentage by two ways, and I'll show you what each of these are and when to use both of them. Okay, I don't want to do a sum, rather I want to calculate percentage. So there are two things. One is percentage increase. Percentage increase is only done to calculate the increase from one year to another year. You will only use percentage increase if you are comparing two time periods. I'm not comparing two time periods, so this is not the right one for me. But if we are at all we are comparing something from one year to another year, that's what we will do. Percentage remaining is the one which lets us do the actual percentage calculation, which is a minus b divided by b into 100, that particular formula. Okay, so I want the percentage variance to be actual minus budget. So let me do that again.
But we have something called B minus A by B.
So yeah, that's just a formula that they have given. I'm finding my actual minus budget, right? That's why I'm doing it this way. That's the formula that they have given. You don't always have to do that. I want my second. If I move actual first budget, it doesn't make difference, right? You have to be clear
Yeah.
in your head what is the formula for your variance, right? And you'll use it accordingly. I guess again I want to reverse the sign for revenue category, so I'm gonna say yes. And I'm going to click on OK. Now let me run the report and show you the report, how it looks like for you. Since budget is 0, of course, the variance is also going to be equal to actuals and the percentage variance also is going to be the same. But still, let me still show you how exactly now the report looks like. And after that, we'll create a prompt for us. So this is how, can you see? I can now see gross profit as bold. And
Yeah.
it's subtracting my revenue, cost of sales from the revenue. Since budget is 0, my amount variance is also 2160 and there is no increase. Since budget is 0, the percentage variance is showing as 0. And can you see there's an empty column also added here? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now my next step is that I want to consolidate all these prompts that are coming in separately from the two different sub reports into one by using a prompt set for my report. That is my next thing to do. So let me do that. Just a second. So for income statement, it's always suggested that you use the Workday delivered prompt set. Workday provides you, and that is a prompt set that most of the organizations use. It has a prompt for period, it has a prompt for company. That's the only two prompts that you have. It if you want, and I'll show you. Let me rather than talking, let me just show it to you. It's called financial prompts for company. So I'm just gonna select that prompts here. So if you remember when I was building the report from the beginning where I had defined the control field, Workday has also asked for a prompt set. So here you can add a prompt set and it's called financial. Since I'm running this report on company, I'm going to select the financial composite reports for company. Had I been running this particular one on organization, there is also called financial composite reports for organization. But since I'm running it on company, I'm going to select it as company. I'm going to go here under the prompts tab and I'm going to populate the undefined prompt values like how we do in any other report. Today again, the net is not being my best friend. So let me go again. Like how we do in every other report, we're going to do populate undefined prompt defaults and see what all prompt values are coming here just to check that. So these are the prompt values. Company for financial reports, yes, I want that. Period, yes, I want that. Budget structure, yes, I want that. Translation currency, I'm going to specify the default value here itself because I do not want it to be prompted for the user to be run. So I'm going to make it as USD. Since if you remember in my sub report also the translation currency was USD, and I'm going to do not prompt at runtime because this is a prompt that I do not. Accountation rule set. Remember for income statement, the account translation rule set is always and always consolidations. So that's what I'm going to mention here. I also don't understand the functionality as in the functional knowledge of what this means. Someone from finance can explain you this, but these are the answers that they would be given you while building the report, that what should be entered in each of these prompts. Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, it's two consolidations, and I'm again going to make it as do not prompt at runtime because I do not want to show it to the user for them to enter the value while running the report.
Okay.
And I have not saved it again. I have to start from scratch. Half my sessions get delayed because of this only, the internet issue. Yeah, remember which I told you now that if they are
Yeah.
not required prompts, then you can hide it from the user if you don't want the user to see it. But if they are required and still you want to hide it, you should enter a value. What should the report look at and then hide it. If you don't enter
Yeah.
a value, Workday is going to throw an error. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Like you have entered consolidation for that particular prompt. Yeah.
I don't know what has happened. Hidden prompts, the one you are saying that I make do not prompt
Uh,
at runtime?
yes. Like for
Yeah, you can
example,
go in
you
the
have
report definition and check that.
okay, so you have developed the report and I don't know like
Yeah, oh,
I
if
want
you are the
to
end user, no, you can't see it until unless I have shared the report with you for you to modify it. And you have the report right access in the tenant. You should also have
okay,
the report right access in the tenant. If you don't have
okay,
the report right access and this prompt has not been, sorry, prompt I'm saying is the report is not shared with you, then you, of course, you can't.
okay,
As a user, you cannot. As a writer, yes, you can, like a developer. Come under
sure.
the prompts tab and you under this particular tab. Of any
Okay,
report you want to see what all prompts I have hidden, you will come under the prompts tab and you will see the ones that are do not prompt at runtime are the ones which are hidden. Okay.
okay.
So I want budget structure and all to be shown, but I do not want this translations currency to be shown since it's a required prompt. I'm defining it to be a USD.
Yeah, for some reports, they'll have operating budget structure. Maybe sometimes they are hiding that budget structure, and maybe they are keeping it
Yeah,
as
because they
operating
don't, because
budget
maybe the
structure.
end user doesn't understand, right? That what the
Yeah,
impact will be if I change the value. So, like for the end user, they don't know what time period means, but I know the impact of time period on my report runtime, correct? So,
yeah,
I do not want them to play with that. I just want them to only play with the things they are aware of. They know that I want to run this report for this period and for this company and for this particular budget structure, but they might not be knowing that what does time period mean, and they might get confused and they might just say, why are two company prompts coming here? Okay, these are coming from the other ones. Okay, okay, let me just click on okay here, because now once you have the prompt set defined, your first and foremost task is to go in the sub reports and map those prompts. So these are the two sub reports that I have brought in. So I'm going to do, what I'm going to do is I'm going to map each of these sub report prompts to the prompt set that is there. Okay,
yeah.
so let me do that. So here is the prompts that were coming. I don't want company to be now prompted separately. I want to map it, use it from the prompt set. So see, I told Workday that for this reports company, use what the user entering in the consolidated prompt set. Period again, I don't want it to be specified here. I want the user to run it and map it to the period that is in the prompt set. Time period, I will leave it to current period YTD because that's how I want it to be. Understood? That's how
Yeah,
I'm mapping my prompt individual report prompts to one big prompt set that will now show as one to the user rather than separate prompts from separate reports. Okay,
yeah.
same I will do for my second sub report. I'm going to come here. I'm going to tell them that do not prompt it separately, rather map it to the prompt set company field. Do not prompt it separately, rather map it to the plan structure field, budget structure. Period, do not prompt it separately, map it to the prompt set.
Prompts.
Time period, and this also map it to the, since there was already a prompt set account translations rule set, I'm going to do that. I'm going to leave all of these. I have mapped both my report prompts to the larger prompt group. I'm going to click on OK. And then I'm going to go back to my prompt set. I'm going to first let me run and show you how this is looking like. And then because I want to show you something. So when I go on run page, you will see still so many companies coming up. Can you see? Company,
Yeah,
company, period, period. The reason being I did not hide these prompts. Even though they have been mapped to the prompt set, they have not been hidden from my prompt tab. So I'm going to go back to the report and I'm going to hide these individual or sub report prompts because I have already told at the sub report level that map them to the prompt set. So no harm there. Okay.
clicked
So
on
the
edit
columns are
and
using the sub reports, right? That's why I went into the columns. That's why my
oh,
columns are using the report, correct? So
okay,
that's why I
that
have to go into the column.
okay, okay,
Okay,
yeah, got it.
understood?
Yeah,
Actually, I can remove it also from here. since all of these have been coming from the individual reports, I'm going to simply remove it and click on OK. What is the error here? I guess something I don't. You must set the plan structure to required. Makes it okay. So it's asking me to make the budget and the plan structure to be a required prompt because one of my reports has it as required prompt. So I'll make it required, no harm, because I have to anyway enter a value, and then I'm going to click on OK. Now, if you will see when I run the report, rather than these multiple different prompts coming from different reports, I will only see the ones coming from my prompt set. Understood? I'm going to enter a value here, and both my reports are now going to take these values. So when I'm entering Global Modern USA for my company prompt, both the sub reports had a company prompt, correct? So both the sub reports company prompt are going to look at Global Modern Services USA as a value, because at the prompt level or at the sub report level, I told them that map these individual prompts to my prompt set value. Okay, so that's how. Period, again, it's going to be current period. And I'm going to select May like how I was selecting it. Budget structure, based on the company, my budget structure is going to show up here. I want the budget structure to be budget only. Remember, budget structure is dependent on the company. So if you don't enter a value in the company, the budget will show as empty. Okay, so you have to first enter a value for company for your budget values to show up. This is a very good learning. Most of the clients first go and try to enter a budget value, but that should not be the case. Yeah, every company has its own budget structure. That's why what you select in your company prompt will determine what will come in your budget prompt structure. Maybe India has an annual budget structure and so on. So can you see how this report is looking like? The same values are coming up with the same prompt structure being set up. Okay.
Yeah.
Now let me tell you how to configure what is repeating column group in Workday and how to configure it. So suppose I was seeing up until here. All the data I was seeing only up till here. Now what if I want to split the actuals and budget by cost center? I want to see, so how in matrix report we split data by management level, by gender. Composite reports also you can split data based on a particular criteria. So I want that apart from seeing the total actual and budget, if there are 3 cost centers in this company, I want what was the actuals for each of these cost center and what was the budget for each of these cost center. I want to see it that way, and I want to see the gross profit individually for each of these cost centers. That the way to configure this in composite report is via repeating column group. You basically repeat your actuals and budget column via a particular control field. What is that control field is told to you by the client. If they want to split this value by cost center, it will be cost center. If they want to split this value by ledger account, it will be ledger account. If they want to split this value by time period, it will be time period. If they want to split this value by location, I'm going to show you cost center. Tomorrow, I'm going to show you how to split this data by time period as well. Remember you said na, that since trended report can only be created for worker data source, how do we do it for financials? It is via this hack of repeating column group that you can make your reports trend for a time period. So today I'm not going to show you by time period. I'm just going to show you how repeating column group works in Workday and how you can configure it. Okay. So I'm going to split my actuals and budget by a cost center field. Now the hack here is that whichever field you want your actuals and budget to be repeated by should be added as a control field in your sub report. So right now my control field here was only ledger account, correct? But now since I also want my actuals and budgets to be split by what do we call as cost center, my both my sub reports that I'm using in this composite report should have cost center added as a row grouping. Okay, so let me open the sub report and show you. I have already gone and added that particular field, but I still want to show you. So let me open one of my sub reports. The Wi-Fi is not in the best of shape today. Things. So I will show you that I went back and since I wanted the repeating column group to be cost center for me, I have gone and edited my sub report and I have added cost center as a row grouping so that it comes up as a control field. Okay, so let me open this report. So now you will see there's a cost center field. Can you see? Earlier,
Yeah.
my only control field was ledger account. Ignore this. We'll talk about it tomorrow. But now I also have a cost center group by field. Suppose you need multiple control fields and you are exhausted all your row grouping, you can come and add them to your column grouping as well. It's not always necessary that your control field has to be a row grouping. You should first exhaust all your row grouping options, and then if you still want to add control fields, you can utilize column grouping also. Okay. Here I
Okay.
need just two control fields, so I don't need to worry about it. But yeah, that's all I wanted to show. Similarly, on the other sub report also, I have gone and added it. But now what I need to do is I need to first duplicate my columns. I want to duplicate my actual columns and I want to duplicate my budget column so that I can split them both. So I'm going to click on duplicate here.
Yeah,
Because anything you want to add as a repeating column group needs to be a control field, and anything that needs to be a control field needs to be the what do you say as needs to be your row grouping or column grouping in your sub report. Okay,
yeah. Same
understood?
concept. Even though you're splitting up, the same
Yeah,
concept applies for
yeah.
repeated columns.
Yeah. So now I have to duplicate the row because I want to see my total actuals also. But I also want this to be split by cost center. It's not that I'm splitting this original column. I want a separate column of actuals to be split by cost center. That's why I have to duplicate the row. If they would have not wanted to see the entire totals, I would have not been worried. I would have, yeah. So I have moved my actuals tab to the other end, the duplicate one. I'm going to duplicate my budget tab as well. And I'm going to move it to the other end. So that's how you move. You just click, how in Excel sheet we click on the Excel
Yeah.
and we just drag and drop. That's simple functionality. It'll take a while, but it would have moved. So it's here, but I want this to be, there should be an empty column as well between from where the repeating column starts. So I'm going to insert a empty column here. Actually, the empty column should come here. So let me click here. Sorry. Yeah. So this is my empty column now. Now first I'll show you how to split actuals by cost center, and then I will show you how to do it for budget. So there is something called as repeating column group. If you don't have an existing repeating column group in your composite report, you should first use this repeating column group option to create a repeating column group. So I'm first going to create a repeating column group called cost center. Now repeating column group field value, either you can specify it or you can choose it from the prompt. So suppose if my repeating column group was company and I wanted it to be split by the company by which the user is entering in the prompt, then I would have chose this option. But right now that's not the case. I want it to be split by cost center. So I'm simply going, so can you see both the fields which are there as control field or the summary grouping on the report are coming up here. This
Yeah.
I'm going to use tomorrow, but this one I'm going to show it to you today. So I'm splitting it by cost center. Nothing on the sorting one, nothing else needs to be done here. Simply I have created a repeating column group by cost center and I'm going to click on OK. Okay. Now if I create a separate repeating column group for budget, what's going to happen is that First cost center is if first actuals is gonna get split up by cost center and then budget. But if you look at my requirement, that's not how I need it. I want both the actuals and budget to be coming under one cost center. So I want that my budget should use the same repeating column group as my actuals. If that would have not been the case, suppose I wanted to see actuals by 71200, 71100 and 36100 separately, and then the same for budget, I would have created two separate repeating column groups using the same cost center field. But here the view is such that I want both the actuals and budget to use the same repeating column group that I have just created. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to add the same repeat. I'm not going to create a new repeating column group here. I'm just going to go here and I'm going to, okay, I'll pause for a bit and then just let me know once you're back. Okay, my Wi-Fi also went conked off, so let me just see what all work is saved and what all I need to do again. So what I was mentioning here was that, sorry, I guess I disconnected it. So what I was mentioning here was that I want actuals and budget to use the same repeating column group that I have created rather than a separate repeating column group for actuals and a separate group for the budget column. So I did a repeating column group for my actuals. I'm going to tell Workday to use the same column group for my budget column as well. So let me get into the tenant again. Oh, none of my things got saved. I see. I have to do all of that again. No, it is actually little. Yeah, it's there. So I created one repeating column group for actuals. Now I'm going to tell Workday that use the same rather than going and creating a new one. If I have to create a new one for budget, I'll use the same option. But I want to use the one that I have already created for actuals. So I'm going to go under the edit option over here. And I'm gonna go down below, and over here if you see Workday asks for a repeating column group. So if you have an existing repeating column group created for your report, just go and select that if you want to use the same one. But if you want to create a new one, you will use the repeating column group option rather than the edit option. Understood? Now let me run this report and show you how it looks like.
So can we use any number of repeating column groups?
Yeah, so not any number. You can use yeah, you can duplicate the rows multiple times, of course, but you have to ensure that the whatever repeating column group is being added can fit in your row and column grouping as well. So you know you can have 10 row groupings and 2 column groupings, so not beyond 11 or 10 fields. You have to be cautious about that. Okay, but yes, you can make your report columns repeat by whatever you number of fields you want. But yeah, that restriction is that though all those fields should be accommodated in your row grouping and column grouping of your sub reports as well. Okay, because at the end, only when a field becomes a control field, you can use it as a reporting column group. Because I knew that you really wanted to learn composite reports. So now are things making sense to you? Great. So see, Shanti, now if you will see, you are having
reports also having.
Yeah. So if you will see now you are getting the actuals and budgets have duplicated. I retained the total ones, I created duplicate ones, and then I asked Workday to split it by cost center. So there are 3 cost centers under Global Modern Services, and all those 3 cost centers have come up here. Cost center A has just cost of sales, no revenue. Cost center B has revenue, and cost center C has revenue, no cost of sales. So that's how. Unfortunately, this is coming up to be because it has no revenue, only sales. That's why the profit is showing as loss here. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's about all about creating repeating column groups and everything. There is something called formatting, and then there is something called as lookup date roll up. Basically, I'll show you how to trend the reports by time period. How I'm showing these reports split up by cost center. Tomorrow, I'm going to teach you how to split your reports by month or by year or by quarter. And I'm going to show you how to format things. By format, I mean how to add a header, footer, how to add a column heading. All those things tomorrow we'll cover. Okay.
Normally we will
Because
have.
I have not added any details fields, so it's going to show. See, if you will click on these numbers, you can see. You can you have these are the grouping fields. These are the detail fields. But that view details will only come up for sub-report columns or look by. You cannot view details for calculation. Gross profit is a calculation that I have done. So you cannot see it. You cannot see it for variance because that is also a calculation. You can only drill down on those particular columns and rows where the data has been brought from a sub-report. Wherever you're doing arithmetic calculations, you cannot do that. Okay. You can go and edit it. You can go and check. If you want to create view details, you can add it to your sub reports. Whatever is there on your sub reports will be there on your this particular report as well.
Okay.
Okay. So that's how you do it.